Hi, and welcome to a Hero Arts video. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to transform cutout shapes using simple inking and stamping techniques. I'll start you off with a screenshot from my silhouette to show you how I've laid out the Hero Arts snowflake images. And now I have my images all cut out. You can see them if I show up close. And I'm going to go ahead and color my images while they're still on the cutting mat so I can get the positive and the negative at the same time. And right now I'm just placing down some large post-it note pieces of paper to mask off the other snowflakes while I work with the one color. So I'll start off by using peeled paint and Fire Brick Red, and I'm just using some makeup sponges. I'll just dab the makeup sponge onto the ink and just start rubbing onto the snowflake. The best part about this technique is that I don't have to have perfect coloring, and that's why I'm not worrying about using an actual ink applicator, because I'm just going to smudge around, and it's okay if I have light and dark areas because that'll make it look all the better. So now I'll use another sponge and the Fire Brick, and I'm just going to add color in around in the other white area. And if you notice, I'm allowing the ink to overlap just slightly onto the other color, which creates a whole nother color altogether. So once I've placed my red down, I'll go ahead and use some old paper, and this is a Sukaneko ink applicator, and I'll just go ahead and put this in this last corner. You can start to see the red blending in with the peeled paint a little bit better by using the old paper in between. It looks a little imperfect right now, but once I have the stamping done over top, it'll transform it completely. This is a really fast technique, and remember, I'm coloring two pieces at once to use on a card later. Now I'll go back in with some more peeled paint and just darken in some areas to get richer color. And I'll add a little bit more fired brick. Okay, now I can add some stamping. So now I have my walnut stain ink, and I'm going to use another post-it note to cover my work surface. So I'll be using a large stamp, and this is the friend definition. So go ahead and ink this up with the walnut stain ink. I always like to make sure I get really good coverage. And I'll go ahead and lay this down on my project, line up my edge, and go ahead and give it a press. Love the cling stamps because you don't always need a backing. So here's the first layer of stamping. Now I'm using the Flourish background and some white pigment ink from Colorbox. This is the best pigment ink to use. It's also great for embossing. It just gives really strong white color. You do have to let it dry a bit. You can always heat set it to dry it quicker. So now I'll go ahead and place this down onto the snowflake and give it a press. And if you notice, the backing of my stamp has another image because it was prototype and I just haven't replaced it out. Okay, now I'll show you up close what my snowflake looks like. Completely transformed. To color the other snowflakes on the sheet, all I need to do is to mask off my colored one that I've done already. And that's it. And here's a card I've made with the negative portion of my snowflake. Just made a clear acetate pocket card. And here's an additional card I made with the positive part of the snowflake, with the shape cut out. In this next segment, I'll show you just how to use one color inking to make a more vintage style looking snowflake. Here I'm using old paper distress ink and a Sukaneko ink applicator, just using twisting and blotting motions just to put my ink down onto the snowflake. And as you can see, I have light and dark areas, and it doesn't look so special right now. So now I can go ahead and stamp over my colored snowflake using the friend definition once again, and walnut stain ink. So I'll tap my ink onto the stamp, just kind of coloring in an area where I know the snowflake will be. And before I stamp, I'm going to go ahead and blot the ink up just a bit so I have also light and dark areas on the stamp. Now I'll place this onto my snowflake and give it a good press. And now it truly looks like old paper. Very vintage, very irregular. Perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp another image on top, and again I'll use my Flourish background. I think this one works really well for winter. And I'll be using my white pigment ink from Colorbox. Just ink that up. Go ahead and place it onto my snowflake and press on my stamp. And here's a close-up of how this looks. Very nice. And here's a peek at the two cards I made. The negative sits on an acetate card with a message underneath, and the positive is on a white disc on a brown note card. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and thanks for watching.